we're recording the video. It's the Mike Tech Show, show number 842. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the podcast. I'm your host, Mike Smith. Thank you very much for downloading and subscribing to the show. Please visit the main website at miketechshow.com. You can email me questions and suggestions for show topics at miketechshow@gmail.com. Don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube page for the videos, youtube.com/Michael Smith MTS. This show is brought to you by Instant House Call, remotely support for IT pros and MSPs, providing unattended and on-demand remote access. You can try it free by clicking on my website at miketechshow.com. Don't forget to use the promo code MikeTechShow. Get your 15-day free trial. Go to instanthousecall.com. You got to check it out. It's wonderful. And this show is also brought to you by MagnusBox. Now, let me tell you one thing I didn't have to worry about while the hurricane was approaching my residence here in Florida. Having my online backup with MagnusBox, I knew my data was protected. I don't have to worry. And that is one of the things you need to use as a selling point for disaster recovery. You remind people that what if a storm happens and wipes out your data? You need to know you have it in the cloud, and that's what MagnusBox does. It is the best online backup that you can resell to your clients. You can easily become a partner. Just go to magnusbox.com and you can kick the tires and test it out. Make sure that you tell them you heard it on the Mike Tech Show, and you know what you get? Free white labeling, and your first 3 months, the platform fee is half price. Go to magnusbox.com for all of your backup needs. Well, that sort of set the stage a little bit. I am going to talk about Hurricane Ian, who really impacted me all week. We're going to talk about the method that I used on selecting the items on which to take with me when I was evacuating. Going to talk a little bit about the IT Business Podcast. We got some hurricane apps. We got a windy website. And what about protected email with a site that I just didn't even realize that a friend mentioned? So I survived my first hurricane experience in Florida, and I am very blessed that I had no damage and I have power and internet and I'm able to do this show. But I was lucky. Many, many thousands of people were not lucky. And my thoughts, prayers, and donations, put my money where my mouth is, are with the people that were devastated with Hurricane Ian. And south of me, Fort Myers and some of the other areas were just devastated on the west coast, the Gulf Coast side of Florida. A lot of hurricanes come up the Atlantic and hit the south. The south, yes, but the ocean side, the east side. When hurricanes come up the Gulf, they always turn left and go to Louisiana. They don't turn right and come up to the Tampa area. And this hurricane was projected to come right where I'm at. It was supposed to do a direct hit on the Tampa area. And I'm just 15 minutes north of Tampa. And it was supposed to hit. Now, given that, I knew I had to evacuate. And I was so lucky with my good friends Marvin B. and his wife Kim in Fort Lauderdale. Took me in Tuesday night, Wednesday night, Thursday night. Fed me, kept me safe as I evacuated, and I am so grateful. The words cannot express how thankful I am, and that Marv was the first person to recommend to just, Mike, come down here. It's not going to hit south. And let me tell you, we had some winds and some rain, nothing like up here. Also, Winston Wolf, you know what that man, he's in Indiana, and he said, Mike, I'm an 18-hour drive to you if you need any help. And he was serious. And, just amazing. I am grateful to the friends that I have and coming through for me like this. So now I'm going to evacuate. My family's worried. Everybody's worried about me. I'm down here by myself. Not for long. My wife's on her way down, driving down. I was so stressed out the couple days before the hurricane. Every moment I watched the Weather Channel, it stressed me out more and more. Now it's Tuesday and I have to leave. So Monday, I'm running around. What do I take? What can I fit in the car? This room is filled with memorabilia that mean a lot to me. Well, not more than my life, but it means a lot to me. What am I taking? And the only way to calm down, and I'm going to have this as a link for the first link in the show notes, it's about the KonMari method. And I've read the book, How to Tidy Up, and the author teaches you the magic of tidying up and organizing. Not just organizing your house, your office, your life. And I'm going to read here. I'm going to have this link. The KonMari method is a simple but effective tidying method, ensuring you will never again relapse to clutter. It uses a unique selection criteria, choosing what sparks joy. You are not choosing what to discard, but rather choosing to keep only the items that speak to your heart. Through tidying, you can reset your life and spend the rest of your life surrounded by the people and things that you love the most. Yes, you can KonMari people. If there's people in your life that don't bring you joy, get rid of hanging out with them. Well, I applied this method to my room because let me tell you, it was the only thing that kept me sane. What items brought me great joy? Now, as surprising as this is, my computer here on Monday of this week, I asked that question, and my answer was it didn't bring me joy. So there were like 2 special signed baseballs. There was one bobblehead that was given to me by Ryan that's very rare, and I love it. That brought me joy. So I wrapped that and packed it. I made sure I took the 2 baseballs. That was all that I brought from this room. The big paintings on the wall there, I couldn't fit in the car. So I had to make decisions. Now, of course, all my meds had to go with me. And flashlights, my first aid kit, basically bringing my preparedness kit for the hurricane, because that's something I had to do. I had to make sure that a couple days before, knowing it's coming, I didn't have a hurricane preparedness kit. So I had to make sure that a good first aid kit, flashlights, radio with a light and a crank, a charged power brick for charging my devices, water, protein bars. And you're saying, Mike, you're evacuating. Yes, but it was a long drive down to Fort Lauderdale, and I was worried, well, what if I'm stuck somewheres? What if there's a problem? Hey, I'm going to hopefully have to make my way back. And what if I have, and Tony said it right in the chat, a go bag. I now have a real go bag, including a bag that is fireproof and waterproof with all of my major documents. I have my car registration. There's different medical info. I have my, of course, home insurance and the contacts and all of that info. It's now in a bag that can withstand, I think, 2,000 degrees in fire and is watertight. So sort of like a flexible lockbox. And having this was very important. I'm going to demonstrate something. I have this here. This is the emergency radio and light. And it even has a flash that can flash SOS. It's got the different bands of the radio, but more important than that, it's got a crank. It's also, let's see this for a second. It's also solar. Now, during a hurricane, there's no sun probably available, but it's, if you don't have power, you got to exist. So one of the things I thought for sure, I thought absolutely we're going to lose power. And not having power, what do? So battery operated fan. And I got a great big battery case and I packed that in the car. I have so many batteries and I got that. Actually, my wife bought me 2 of them with a ton of batteries to fill them up. I got one in Pennsylvania and I got one here. So now I'm ready down here. May I never experience a power outage. And now I'm ready. I also had to bring clothes and I had to decide. So how long am I going to be displaced if possible? So I made sure I had enough clothes. I mean, the underwear, socks, shirts, pants. I did bring my MHS consulting shirt. And I'm glad because I thought, if I'm going to Fort Lauderdale, I have 2 clients in the area that one I've never met. So I figured that's good. And I'm going to take care. That's later in the show. We'll talk about that. So now I KonMari'd everything. There's some things, does water bring me joy? No, but it's a necessity. So you can't apply that to everything when you're evacuating. But those personal items, it definitely came actually as a surprise to me what I really value. And it was really interesting as you apply that. And I recommend everybody getting that book. It's inexpensive and, use that to help you, with your life. It really can. Now, I get down to on Tuesday. Oh, here was a surreal moment. I'm packing my car on Tuesday. And what am I greeted with coming down my street? A fire engine with a paramedic vehicle behind them. And they see me. They said, "Are you leaving?" I said, "Yes." They said, "You are under mandatory evacuation." And they had the paramedic vehicle because I'm in a 55 and older community. And there are people that probably could not get out on their own. And they were there to help them. Let me tell you, the city of Oldsmar, a double thumbs up for the way they've handled this. We were spared and we were lucky. But even the preparedness and what they did, and especially for the community that I'm in right now, just keeping us abreast of all the information we needed. My HOA here kept us informed of everything and even emailed preparedness kits and said lists to say, this is what you should be thinking of. This is what you should do. I was definitely prepared, but stressed out. So now I get to Marv and Kim, who welcomed me right in, and I get there Tuesday late afternoon after driving for 7 hours. It's a 4-hour drive that took 7 because of traffic, and then started hitting some bad weather on the way down, which was kind of the tail coming around for the storm. Those outer bands actually hit South Florida on the Atlantic side. So now I'm there. We have dinner, relax. And Marv suggests, let's do a hurricane party show. And I'm like, yes. So www.itbusinesspodcast.com. You can see Marvin B. and myself do a show Tuesday night. And then Marv had his regular show where he had Synchro as a guest on Wednesday night. And the storm really was hitting Wednesday. And something that I did every couple hours because I was so worried, I would go on my Ring app for my Ring video doorbell. If there was ever a commercial, they're not a sponsor, for the Ring doorbell, at least just the Ring doorbell, I was able to view outside. So what is that telling me? That's telling me I have power and I have internet. Throughout the entire storm, we never lost power and never lost internet. I had full view of my outside, my front door. I was blown away by that, just blown away. And that was telling me, hey, things are good. And when that storm, I know bad for a lot of other people, but when it hung right and started direct to Orlando and to the right of Orlando, if you're coming up, that was amazing, because what was described by people who remained here, which they really shouldn't have, they described it as a bad thunderstorm. And that's what the only rain, we had no flooding, no damage, branches here or there. That was it. And I really thank the Facebook group, the private group that we have for my community. There were people that were worried and asking, and anybody that was there, and certainly after Wednesday, they came and reported in the group, everything's fine. So Wednesday and Wednesday night, I was so worried. But Thursday, knowing that it passed and I'm good, now I didn't know if there was any leaks or any external damage that I couldn't see, but I knew I had power, I knew I had internet, and it was looking good. So Thursday, I'm relaxed a little better because I know I made it through. And what I made sure that not only was I watching the Weather Channel, but I was watching the Tampa ABC News app, because I got more of direct reporting, and it wasn't scary reporting. It was factual, where I think the Weather Channel kind of went, yes, you got to pay attention, you got to listen, but just watching them just made me just more stressed, where getting the reality of what was hitting from a Tampa news standpoint was very helpful, and it was very good. There's one app that I absolutely recommend, and it's called My Hurricane Tracker and Alerts. It's free, and it is amazing with the tracking. And they call it the wobble, where you don't know which way it's going. I could see that along the way. I could just check my phone and like, okay, there it's head. And then when you start to see it veer off and go in another direction, it just, I'm relieved. So that was one app that I kept checking. I'm going to show you a website that Marv introduced me to, and it's called Windy. So let me, boop, boop, boop. I got to make sure, there it is. So this is Windy, and it's right now. So let's remote in. You can go all the way in to, let's go to Tampa. It's showing the temp, but it's also showing the winds. And during the hurricane, it actually shows you the wind speed and which direction it's going. That is amazing. It is unbelievable. And you could see the storm pattern where you could see where it started heading up, and then it hit the Cape Coral area and parts of Sarasota, but then it started veering off and going to the right. But here I got live wind speeds, and the wind speeds during the hurricane weren't that bad. We can handle 25, 40 mile an hour winds with no major damage. And that's what was happening. So that's a great app because it's the water and the wind, and you want to know what's going on. So that's just something that is literally, let me click the right one here. It's windy.com. So that is very, very, very cool. So Thursday, a little more relaxed, and it's time to visit a client that I've never met, that I've been helping remotely over a year. And it was a big thank you to Andres, who I had lunch with, who doesn't work for this client, but is a avid listener of the Mike Tech Show, and he works in IT, credits my show for the last 17 years of helping him, and he gave me this client who needed a new IT support, and they're a retainer client, they're one of my MSP clients, and of course, Instant House Call on every machine, Magnus Box on every workstation and their server. And what was really cool, and I had a question for Mike from Magnus Box last week during this. This is the client that they overwrote a file that was critical. I get the call, and the employee says, Mike, we really need this file. And I logged in. It had been a little bit since I restored, and I forgot how to see all of the past days. And I called Magnus Box. He says, "Oh, just click show all, and you're going to get all the dates, not just the latest backup." So I did that. Then I recovered the file. But this is the great news. On Thursday, the owner said, Mike, and I'm going to call her name out, not the owner, but the person, Debbie, who needed this. She was so excited. She just walked around for the week praising your name, and because of the backup that you have. Can't make this up. Can't make that up. So they're greeting me with this. They were so excited to meet me, but I did something even better. I brought Marv with me and introduced them as this is my on-site backup because I'm not here. And if there's ever, a dire emergency, call me first. And then if we need to, or especially the project that I'm going to talk to you about, I can use Marv to help me. And that's an amazing, I think if there was anything they were worried about was, boy, when I'm in Pennsylvania, it's pretty far, from Fort Lauderdale, or they're in Sunrise, Florida, which is right next door. So they need something because their server needs to be replaced. So here, let's get to some serious tech for a couple minutes. I'm going over and I'm reviewing with Marv starting Monday, coming up with 4 possible solutions. A total cloud-based solution to get rid of the server. That makes sense, but they do have a tax app that when you check the online prices, oh my, it is incredibly expensive. So we have a total cloud solution, a hybrid solution with QuickBooks Desktop in the cloud, and that's with Right Networks. I have a few clients with that who need the desktop version of QuickBooks, but hosted in the cloud. The tax software that's in the cloud, it's so expensive. Hey, let's keep that on a peer workstation. Only one person really needs to use it. 90% of the people need QuickBooks. So a hybrid solution really starts to make sense. They have over a terabyte of file storage. So again, this hybrid solution may work. Option C, just migrate to a brand new server. Let's look at the costs. But I don't see that. Here's another solution that Marv introduced me to and demonstrated. And it's the Synology with a virtual server. So you got to have a little more powerful Synology, not your typical work group and the Synologies that I talk about, but you need a hefty, you got the processors, got the RAM, so it can host a virtual server. That's an option that I normally don't consider, but now has to be brought into the mix here. So after we meet, we actually go to a client of Marv's, which was cool. Then I connected with Andres and had a great lunch. And Andres, thank you so much for this referral for the client. And it was a pleasure meeting you and hanging out with you for a little bit. And this might be another topic down the road. He brought me on a tour of his organization that he works for, and that was very educational. So now, Friday, I'm ready to head back to Oldsmar, Florida. And on my way back, I stopped at Boynton Beach, Florida, to meet with a client that retired, that was the owner of, a few years ago, remember I don't know if everybody remembers, I had a client that was bought by a client in New York, and they don't believe in IT. They try to do everything themselves. They only call us when it's a dire emergency. Well, he was the owner with another person. They're sort of semi-retired, even though they sold the business. They're consultants still because they still need them. But he's retired and in Boynton Beach, Florida, and he's got 2 systems that need to be wiped because we bought a new system and remotely set it up for him once we walked him through connecting it, which I believe was a tech story, a month or so ago. Well, anyway, now I'm picking up those 2 systems, so it was on my way. Boynton Beach is right near Boca Raton. So I go in there and get the 2 systems. Now, through traffic jams and my Apple CarPlay, wreaked havoc on me a little bit. It said, would you like to save 10 minutes? And I'm like, sure. And it recalculated. And then another time, would it like you to save 20 minutes? Of course I want to save 20 minutes. Well, there was a moment where I think it was so heavy traffic, she had me go back and forth on the Florida Turnpike between one exit and another exit, get off, and then had me turn around again. It was driving me crazy. So the final one, I said, that's it. And it was kind of funny because she never came up and asked me. Yeah, and I call it she because I have a female voice on it. So when I decided if she ever comes up and says, would you like to save time? I'm going to select no. No thanks. But that didn't happen. It took a while. I get back here at 4:30. The first thing I do is go through checking the interior, looking at the ceilings, making sure there's no water stains anywhere. Just making sure there's no water anywhere on the floors. And yes, I came here, turned on my UPS for my system, and fired up the computer and the monitors, and I seen that booted right away, and I'm like, okay. I see, I got internet, I got power. I walk around the outside of the house all the way around, making sure we have a screened-in patio, which you might have seen me post videos when I'm down here. If I'm smoking my cigar or something, I'm out there, and there's big screens. Screens were perfect. I then had to turn on my water. So as I walked around, and I got to bring a little pad because I got to kneel down, and I had to turn the water on. So Taz just asked, do you turn it off? Yes. I treated evacuating like I was leaving the house for the summer and going north. And that means turn the breaker off for the water heater. Close all of the doors. Something I learned, and it was talking to a couple people. I closed every internal door because if there was a breach, you want the wind and everything to try to be contained just in that room. You don't want it let loose throughout the entire structure. So, and I know there are multiple responses to that, where there's multiple opinions. But I went with the scientific opinion that was presented to me by my electrician handyman. He said, close all the interior doors. So I closed them all. Then I make sure everything was locked down best I could, and I turned off the water. And this way, if there's a breach in the line or it's not going to, I'm not going to have to deal with that as a problem with constant water flow. So once I checked on the house, then I went around to the spigots checking water, and then gave the water heater a chance to be on. Do I have hot water? Yes. Now I was able to successfully post and respond to everybody that was checking in on me. Now, something that took a lot out of me last night, emptying my car. It's when you're packing and selecting items, can't believe how fast that is. Throwing things in the suitcase, throwing things in this. I had this big plastic bin that I got out of the shed, and I'm filling it with everything that looks like, okay, yes, brings me joy and necessary. So I get everything, and you got to put all that back. So that took a couple hours last night. It was tiring, so I got everything back. And then today, now normally on a Saturday, I like doing a show in the afternoon, but I still had a lot to do. The car was filthy from all the driving. I had to do that. I had to get gas. And by the way, our governor took this month and eliminated the gasoline tax. I paid under $3 a gallon today, and it's only for this month. I'll take it. Luckily, I needed to fill up. So I did that, and then I was dying for some sushi. So my favorite sushi place, I got an order. That's the only thing I had today was a sushi, and then needed to drop off stuff for dry cleaning. So I had to run a lot of errands today. Then took 2 client calls where one of them was involving a UPS, which is interesting because I think he bought the one UPS and he's going to need some help putting that in place. So that could be a call later tonight or tomorrow morning. I will take care of that. And then another client, all I had to do was reboot the system. So taking care of clients, sending out invoices, some invoices that I can't send till October 1st. Well, guess what? Today's October 1st. So I got invoices out. So today was productive. The whole week, an interesting experience that I wanted to share for everybody of what I went through as a newbie in Florida to experience my first hurricane. And I don't want to go through that again because it was just so stressful. And I know I will. And the Floridians here that have been here forever, they're like, this is nothing. Yeah, you get the board, you board up your windows, they have the routine down. I don't want this to be a routine anyway. It's the big negative of living in Florida. And I'm not here all year round. I'm here half a year. So my wife reminded us, Hurricane Sandy did hit us where I'm at in Pennsylvania, right outside Philadelphia. And we lost 2 80-foot trees that were in the yard a few years ago and fell. And we were very fortunate. So, we have short memories. I knew I lived through that, but we didn't evacuate. There was also a devastating tornado. And that's another thing that's happening more and more in the weather, especially in Pennsylvania. We never got tornadoes. We get them now too frequently. So there was last September a devastating tornado ripped through Fort Washington, which is right next to where I live. And it was really devastating to the upper Dublin Township, where it took out some school buildings. It took out the police station and the firehouse. I mean, all your critical places where it really did wipe them out. And a lot of devastation to some houses. So I got to see that, firsthand. But I wasn't in the area. And I remember talking about that. My son and I were down in Delaware at a client. So we didn't live through it. We just looked at it and communicated with my wife, who was actually out that night. And when got back, started, reporting that everything was fine. So again, I was able to remote into the house, so I knew internet's up, power's up. So a big plus for that. All right, I mentioned a utility. Well, it's not a utility. It's a email protection. So email protection. I did not know that DuckDuckGo allows you to protect and save your emails. So for the final link tonight, go to duckduckgo.com/email. And I thank Winston Wolfe for this, because when he mentioned that, I was like, well, I use DuckDuckGo all the time. You have to add the extension to your browser and sign up. I have not tried it. He just told me about this. And when, again, they won't keep when using this service, the only personal information we save is your forwarding email address and the duck addresses you create. That's right. You create duck addresses, and only ones that you need will get forwarded to you. Very interesting. So, something to check out. If anybody already is using it, you want to write a review or tell me a review about it, I would greatly appreciate that. Or if you have it, hey, check it out. Am I going to have time to check it out? I don't know. I'm going to try, but I kind of lost a week on a lot of projects and things that I have to do and get to this week. And at the same time, My oldest son, who takes care of the business up in Pennsylvania when I'm not there, well, takes care of it all the time, has been sick for a couple days, and it's been really bad. He doesn't have COVID, and they've been passing around like a serious sinus infection, and just not good. Now his wife's down with it. My son Ryan had it the weekend before. So they're all testing negative for COVID, but it seems like they're passing this around. Now, my 2 grandkids are back in school. Schools in the beginning of the year, it's like a big petri dish where your kids get everything because every parent sends their kids to school sick. And then they come back and bring it to you. I know what that was like when my boys were younger. My wife and I were perpetually sick with them, and not good, as they pass this around. And I think that's a little bit of what's happening here. So my 2 cents. Well, I hope some of the links help you out. I hope you enjoyed this show. And remember to please, please, please support the sponsors. And that is Instant House Call, Magnus Box, where you'll, trust me, peace of mind of your data. You can't put a price on that. And that's how you sell it to your clients. You got to get them thinking that. Then one last. I was going to say, where's my Fabs? Fabs Auto Backup 7 Pro. Tremendous. Just tremendous. I'm an affiliate for that. And then I have a few clients that have been recommended by listeners who don't have the bandwidth to take care of it. And maybe I can manage their anti-malware, their backups, monitoring using our RMM software. If you need help, hey, reach out to me. Send me an email, miketechshow@gmail.com. I'll get back to you and we'll talk offline and maybe I can help you out. That would be great. That's it. Hopefully everybody stay safe, and I'll see you hopefully normal time on Thursday evening. Bye-bye, everybody.